All right, so for this video, I'm going to be talking about an executive officer, an XO in the military, United States Army. I'm not sure how it works with the Marines and the Navy and the Coast Guard and the Air Force or the Space Force, but let's dive right into it. So anytime you're leaving a position, you should always reach out to a battle buddy, someone who's been in a position that you're going to be in, right? So I reached out to this LT, Lieutenant Griffiths, who was my XO in Korea, and this is really great handwriting, by the way. And she wrote down literally all the notes and things she wished she knew whenever she wished she knew before she became an XO. So I'm just gonna go straight down the list, right? So the first thing she put on here was people to meet early on. Who do you want to meet early on, especially in an MP battalion or any battalion? You want to meet the battalion XO, because you're at the company level as the XO, and then there's a battalion XO who's overseeing you with a lot of different things, and you're basically answering to that XO, right? Then the PBO, right? So the property book officer, the person in charge of all the property in terms of making sure that everything gets signed monthly, all those different things, right? Then the BMO, so the battalion maintenance officer, the field feeding company point of contact, so you know how you're gonna get food out to your troops when they're in the field. The maintenance support company point of contact, section leaders. So, you know, going to the mechanic, the motor sergeant, the supply sergeant, etc. And then other XOs, because it's very big that you realize that you guys are in that big suck together. So y'all need to all talk to each other and not stab each other in the back at the end of the day. Then the next thing is the battalion S4 NCOIC, the battalion S3 officers, the battalion S6 NCOIC and OIC, non-commissioned officer in charge and officer in charge, and then the medic for the battalion, and then the S1 NCOIC. This is very big just because you want to put a face with a name, because I see this a lot to where lieutenants and just everyone, other soldiers and leaders, they demand things through emails, and a lot of times they've never actually sat down and had conversations with these people, and they're just demanding all these things. But if you establish that relationship with them, you're going to be good to go. So this is a huge highlight for people to meet early on as an XO. So now I'm just going to go down the different sections that she suggested that, you know, this is what you should focus on. So when it comes to Commo, making sure that, you know, you get your JCR count. So knowing how many, you guys can look that up on what that is, but knowing how many you have in your unit. OE254, making sure that you actually know the process for how 5988s get turned in, and how trucks, vehicles, equipment, or what do you annotate whenever, you know, something is broken, so that you actually know the process since you're in charge of maintenance. Total fully mission capable and non-mission capable commo equipment. Knowing your stuff is basically what she's getting at. And then how do people brief in the maintenance meeting? How does a battalion XO want to hear the lowdown on what's going on? Moving over now to the right, we're going to talk about the arms room, because yes, the arms room will fall under you too. Having an accurate weapons count, weapon shortages, BII, so basic issue item shortages. Looking at the 5988s again for the weapons. Who is your maintenance support company? Who is going to do services on your weapons? Because your weapons are going to be serviced, you know, on different timelines depending on where you're at, what posts and everything, and the guidelines. So just making sure that you know that schedule and who is providing that support, because weapons go down all the time. You're going to need to get that weapon back in the fight. What's the turnaround time for the equipment whenever it gets signed over for the services? Are all the memorandum for records up to date for the arms room, the access roster? What's the weapon organization and allocation by platoon like? What's the service schedule, which we just talked about? And then the armorer schedule. So how are they doing their shifts? How much sleep are they getting? Are they getting 12 hours? Are they getting screwed? Or are they actually getting, you know, good hours, you know? So then the next thing I'm going to go over is CBurn. Same thing. How do they actually do maintenance on the Pro Mask? Make sure the masks are actually getting their services. How many ProMats does that unit have? How is CBurn incorporated into the actual training? And do we use a CBurn chamber here for this unit on post? Do we have a CBurn chamber? Do we have anyone qualified? Those things, right? So now we're gonna move over to the medics. Do we have any expired medicine? Are the medics good on all their yearly and annual training? Have they completed all their hours? This is a big thing, you know, especially if you're not in a medical company, making sure you're actually taking care of your medics, and that NCOIC is actually taking care of the medics underneath him or her, because that's a very big thing, because you got to make sure that you're still focusing on your soldiers. Don't get in the mindset of I'm an infantryman, I'm an MP, military police, and you're not taking care of making sure they're progressing in their careers. Next thing is operations. So having a copy of the training schedule, the training calendar. Do they make a CQ/staff duty roster, ACFT/weapons input into DTMS, ammo requests, op boards in schools. Now, I'm gonna close the notebook real quick. No way, shape, or form am I saying that as the XO you're gonna be controlling all these different things. I'm just saying, since the sections fall under you, you need to make sure that they are doing what the commander's intent is. Commander has a lot of things going on, you know, and you're gonna learn in the Army that a lot of units operate differently, right? So you might have an operations section that's on fire and you don't have to be over there all the time. But you might have an operations section where they're not on fire, to where you are going to need to be there. Because you need to realize, as an XO, I haven't been an XO yet, but right now, as an XO, the way I see it is, at any moment, the commander might have to go on emergency leave and you're taking over. And now you're going to be briefing the company slides, you know, company updates to the battalion commander, a lieutenant colonel, with the other company commanders who are captains. So it's very important that you know everything about that company. People are going to be mad at you for trying to get in everything, but just make sure that you're getting into everything in terms of not trying to control what they're doing, but just knowing what's going on in the company. All right, so the next one, it's a very long list that C wrote. Supply, making sure that you know the shortages. How many shortages do we have, and how do we track that? Because remember, you're new to the organization, so you're just asking all these questions so that you can finally understand the battle rhythm of the company. You're not trying to change a ton of stuff. You're trying to just see what things are and go with the flow, and then eventually over time start implementing some change if it's needed, very slightly, growing the trust of your soldiers first. How often do we order supply, the supply cage and how it's set up, the organization of it. Sensitive item schedule. So is one platoon doing it once a month and then it switches to, you know, another platoon leader or platoon sergeant? Like, how is that process? The commander cyclic timeline for inventory. Dates to submit reports to battalion. And when we're talking about reports, we're talking about, it could be a lot of different things. It could be Commo reports, updates on JCRs and radios. It could be updates on, you know, making sure that everyone signs their hand receipts, so the PBO has all that from every organization, so that, you know, he can provide that to the battalion commander, he or she. Already covered this, but who was your feed? Field feeding company. Do I handle this, or does the battalion handle this? So like I said, it's different between organizations, right? Life support, so latrine request, the battalion process for PLs to request, if, you know, PLs are requesting it and then they're requesting it through you and then you're requesting it through battalion. What does the field support look like when in the field? So just the daily battle rhythm again, lateral transfers. So anytime you're transferring something between different units, different UICs, it could be from battalion to battalion, you know, from platoon to platoon, just making sure you get that process worked with through battalion. And then, you know, a lot of other things that I'm not going to cover on here, because I'm not going to put everything on here, but moving over to the maintenance side, getting access to GCS Army. This is where you're going to be able to sign your dispatches for the vehicles before they leave the motor pool. Having a vehicle count by type, service schedule, because vehicles have to be serviced. And if they're not serviced on time, the battalion XO is going to hit you up in the meeting. They're going to just lay fire on you. So that's a huge thing. Trailer, generator, water buffalo count, being very specific on these counts. I can't stress this enough. So don't just think you need to know vehicle, just like motor vehicle count, but trailer count, the water buffalo count, the different generators you have in your formation. Who updates maintenance, battalion level, command, and staff slides. Any key personnel shortages. So, if we don't have record support, a hotel 8, if we don't have a lot of different things that are very key to the organization's success. Battery management when it comes to the trucks, making sure that people aren't just leaving lights on and destroying and draining batteries to where, we wake up the next morning, we can't fight because the battery is dead. Knowing the Army oil analysis program, look it up. I still need to look it up. Hazmat, who is your hazmat? Appointment orders. So as an officer and even as an NCO, you're going to have a lot of appointed duties. This can range from the unit movement officer, so moving things whenever you guys are deploying or just going to the field, and a lot of other things. This can be who's in charge of the ammunition, who's in charge of getting you guys blanks and rounds for ranges. So as an XO, you're going to be the person who's typing up these appointment orders and having the commander sign them once the commander reviews them. And the last thing is the SOP. Is it good or does it need more? So these are things that the XO thought you needed to know, or that she needs to know before she became an XO. So in the description, I'm going to put some of these notes down and break them up by commo, supply, maintenance, operations. But just remember, as the executive officer, you don't want to be that XO who is up in operations office all the time in terms of telling them what to do. You'll find in organizations as a leader when there's times when you need to actually take a little bit of control and responsibility away from some leaders in your formation and still let them have control, and then give it back ever so slightly. It's that turning that switch back on, like I was saying, knowing that, having that fine balance on when you can give them some more fire again, because you do not want to take control and just never give that back. Control can lead to your downfall. With that being said, smile. If you guys have any questions or concerns, let me know. I'm really excited to start my new job. It's definitely going to be a challenge, definitely going to be hard, but that's the military. You learn something like being a platoon leader, and then they're like, hey man, you need to learn something new and be thrown in the fire again. So that being said, hopefully 6 months, a year down the road, I'll make another video, and maybe I was right about some of this stuff. Well, it's not my stuff, but what I was saying, maybe I wasn't. I'm finally done. Smile, everybody.